Life flows on the river of purpose. We're all carried by the uncertainty of its own unfolding. Chasing purpose is all about nurturing faith, setting intentions, pursuing aspirations, all while living boldly. Chasing Purpose aims to inspire, uplift, and empower people through real-life stories. Stories that encapsulate life's memorable moments and enduring life lessons. Chasing Purpose with host Cinta Shay.
January sees us restarting, renewing, and re-engaging with our plans, our dreams, and our visions for the future. While we are all diligently seeking to put our plans in place, be reminded that nothing happens before the appointed time. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens toward the goal, and it will not fail. Though it will tarry, wait for it will certainly come. It will not delay. That verse is from Habakkuk 2, verse 3. Time is defined as the indefinite continued progress of existence and events in the past, present, and future regarded as a whole. This is one of the many definitions of time and the one that best suits our conversation for tonight. Welcome to Chasing Purpose, a space where we nurture faith, set intentions, pursue aspirations, all while living boldly. Chasing Purpose is a journey of self-development, self-love, healing, and spirituality. And our aim each week is to empower, inspire, and uplift you with our thought-provoking conversations. Before we get into tonight's conversation, I would like to invite you all to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chasing Purpose with Cinta Shay Clark. There you will find past episodes and more purposeful conversation. This evening, we also include our new segment called #PPV, which stands for Purpose or Point of View. In this segment, our community gets to chime in on tonight's topic. Be a part of the conversation. We look at Habakkuk 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens towards the goal, and it will not fail. Though it tarries, wait for it will certainly come. It will not delay. We engage in a candid conversation with consultant, mentor, coach, trainer, international speaker, and woman of God, Catherine Goodall. Hi, Kathy. How are you? Affectionately known as Kathy to everybody. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
Hi, Sin. I am wonderful. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to finally be here.
A little backstory. We've been chasing and tracking Kathy down for some time.
Not chasing at all. I said yes when I called the first time.
Well, you're here now.
Appointed time.
As we just look here now, nothing happens before the appointed time. And that's exactly what our conversation tonight is about, the appointed time. So, Kathy, we're going to dissect that Bible verse. For the vision is yet for the appointed time.
Yeah.
What do you think that the term appointed time means?
So, a lot of us, we plan. And if we read more into Habakkuk, we talk about writing the vision and making it plain.
Yes.
And but we always think that things happen in our time. And the truth is, and I have learned that God's timing is perfect, even when we don't see it coming. And so for me, appointed time is his time. And the intersection of us being ready for the things that he has for us and the manifestation of that at the time when it's supposed to happen.
Right. You said the manifestation, the intersection of us being ready, and then the manifestation.
Yes.
I think that a lot of us, as we're planning and everything, we don't even realize that at some time that we're not ready. No matter how we jot it down, we journal it, we have it in our heads, minds, when we can't sleep at night because it's constantly there. And we just know, say, yeah, man, we're ready for it. But sometimes we ourselves are not ready. Yeah. All right, the next part of that voice, though it tarries, wait for it. It will certainly come, it will not delay. Though it tarries.
Yeah. And tarry is really for us, right? So we want something now, especially in this Insta world that we live in, right? Or microwave life that we have all become accustomed to. We want things now. Even we talk about church and, you go into a setting and people are prophesy and people are all these things and you expect that prophecy is going to come through today. And that things are just gonna happen and we don't have any part to play in there, and that's far from true. Yeah. We have to actively participate in our life and the things that happen to us. So, you know, we can talk about school. We use school for an example. We know that we go to school for 5 years, we graduate. But you don't go from starting school to graduation. There's a process. Yes. And same is true for every single area of our life. There's a process. Now, we might think the process takes 2 days when the process takes 20 years because we're not spending the time to prepare and to become and to be ready for the things that God has in store for us.
Spending the time to prepare. It's January morning. You know, we're all now kind of getting our goals together, reflecting, figuring out what's going to happen in the next few quarters. How do we prepare?
So I love that January comes and everybody has these plans of grandeur. You know, it's like, this is what I expect for 2022. But we don't spend the time to reflect on what we've done. We don't spend the time to reflect on what we've actually accomplished. We tend to spend the time focusing on the things that we didn't do.
Yes, true.
And so the first thing I would charge people to do is to reflect on the things that we've actually accomplished. Because it tends to shift our mindset around the doom and gloom and all the things that we didn't get to do. You know, you start to think about, you write a list of the things that you didn't accomplish, and it dampers you. It makes you get frustrated, and it makes you feel like overwhelmed because there's just so much. So I definitely would tell people to start with, what are the things that I have accomplished in 2021 and even before that too. And know, how have they equipped me to prepare me for what's happening in 2022.
I love that. Have you ever found yourself questioning God's timing?
I feel like that's a trick question. Yeah, who has not? And I will say that 2021 for me was a year of questioning. You know, you feel like, so earlier we were talking about corporates off camera, and you know, I feel like I have done a lot in corporates. I think I've accomplished a lot, especially coming back to Jamaica. And people would say, you're at the top of your game, why would you leave? And so last year was a transition year for me, because in 2020, I left corporate completely. And I said, I'm going to focus on the things that I am passionate about and the things that I believe God has called me to. But all of that was going through corporate was to prepare me to be able to now do the things that I believe God really wants me to do. So 2021 was a place of reflection. And it was a place of, all right, God, you carry me from here, so I know I feel like I'm starting from zero. How do you have all of life figured out? You know, you have a great job, you have your house, you have your car, you have the life, you're able to live the life that you want to. You know, you're able to give back in the ways that you want to. I mean, there's always more, but within the space that you're in. So why do I feel like I'm starting from zero? Why do I feel like I don't even know where I live anymore? I don't even know what I'm doing in my life. How did I get here? Right. And so he was like, well, I brought you here so that you could actually come and spend some more time with me. Because you think you know what I want you to do. But I don't think you're really clear. Wow. And so I was like, okay. I went to a conference with Pastor Chris, who's my pastor.
He's been on the show.
Right, our pastor. In Pittsburgh in last year. And it was literally just me and him. And normally the whole church goes. I have never been before. But I was in Florida at the time, and I was just like, Pastor Chris say, I must come, so I'm going to be there. And I think that was when everything started to come together for me, because I felt like I was in limbo. And I was just like, what are you doing? Right. You know, what are you doing? I went to the conference, and it was just like a filling period for me, which I had not taken the time to do for a long time. You know, you get up and you do devotion and you have a routine. But what I have found is that it became so routine to me that maybe I wasn't really digging. I wasn't really connecting with God in a way that I think was meaningful enough. You know, it's like you're close enough to feel him every day, but you know, I really pay attention to what I'm trying to tell you. And going to Pittsburgh, I was just engulfed in a space of just worship and of listening more than anything else. And especially when he says things to you that make you uncomfortable. You know, we were talking earlier about what are you doing in front of a camera? It's the same thing, you know. It's like, but why do I need to do that? I'm good behind the scenes. I'm good not having to be upfront. You know, it's easy to be upfront for other people's brands.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
I'm used to that. I can speak on behalf of anybody else's brand, but when he puts me in a position where it's like, this is what I need you to do, not your business partners, not your friends, not your family. This is where I need you. It's like, okay, but so now I want the time. Like, okay, so we can do that next year, not right now. You know, so he's always his timing and mine are never in sync.
His timing and nobody's timing is ever in sync. But I think that you know, as you talk about stepping away from corporate and, you know, emerging yourself into the alignment that you needed with him, I struggle with that. You know, especially with COVID coming in, stopped going to church. The online thing is not as filling for me as
you don't feel it.
I don't feel it. So I'm having now, right now as we speak, I'm having that same man, he's in my life. I feel him, but am I connected? Is he speaking to me? I'm constantly asking for discernment. So, you know, in this time, I am now, you know, I do the Bible studies. I do everything, but I want to feel, you know, him. So again, God, this is me. This is timing, please. Because I feel, you know, I feel disheveled. Like I like, you know, I'm lost and it doesn't feel like I know what it is to be prayed up. I know what it feels like when he and I are aligned, but in this time, I feel like I'm tarrying. But I know he's going to say, Cynthia, let's go, like as he did with Kathy. And, you know, again, thank God to Pastor Chris for giving you the opportunity to reconnect. And that's what this is about, right? Connecting and getting connected to him. Kathy, what is the one thing that you've left behind in 2021 and the one thing that you want to focus more on in 2022?
So for me, I think it's the separation of what's important versus what is urgent. I think last year helped me, and 2020, COVID generally helped me to prioritize in a different way, to really look at the things that matter and to look at the things that are important versus urgent. So urgent is the things that you need to get done right now. Doesn't make it any other things less important. It's just that maybe there's a time constraint that's attached to it. And things that are actually important. You know, a lot of the time we find ourselves being busy when there's things that we don't actually need to be doing. There's things that we can delegate or that don't need to be done at all. So that's the focus for me.
I like the idea of defining what's important versus urgent. As we as we journal, maybe that's something that we should really look at. What are things from 2021 that maybe we didn't get to finish that we want to, that may be urgent or of importance and that we brought into 2022, and even that you want to accomplish in 2022, write them down. If doing it important, like you do a pros and a cons, doing important versus urgent. I love that. That's a key, guys. All right. Okay, so just picking back up again, guys, major key. I didn't say this in the beginning of the show, but I'm hoping that you are journaling because Catherine is going to drop gems. She already has. This important versus urgent, right? Literally, I just had a whole like light bulb moment there, because I find that we as women, right? We are constantly going, constantly. We're busy. We have to do this. We have to do this. But how do we decipher what is urgent versus busy, urgent versus important, especially in a world where
we're accustomed to being busy.
We have to be busy. That's just us.
So I think for women, we innately feel the need to always be doing something. I mean, we wear so many hats. You know, we're mothers, we are aunts, we are entrepreneurs, we're career women, we're home, homemakers. And so things that we tend to pay attention to, which is all the intricate details of how our household runs, right? And of our businesses or our careers. That we always feel the need to be doing something. If we're not actively doing something, we feel like we're being unproductive.
Yeah.
And so it's something that we have to really be intentional about. You know, I use the word a lot, but it's because if we don't spend the time to actually focus on what we're trying to accomplish, we're going to just continue to be busy all the time.
Yes. Absolutely agreed.
And so it's really being intentional about thinking about what, and you talk about journaling. I write, I'm a writer. That's how I keep track of things. I love pen and paper because it helps me to process, and it also gives me a checklist to be accountable for. And sometimes it's just a brain dump. Not everything that is in your head that you write down has to be accomplished. It's a way of us being able to look at the things that we want to do and then process it.
It's a guide. It can be
Exactly.
act as a guide.
So that's how we process the what's important
Versus,
and then I tend to attach timelines to everything. That's how you know if it really is urgent or actually important or just a nice to have.
right?
You know,
A nice to have.
yeah. Some things are just a nice to have versus being busy doing things that we don't need to be doing. That's how we get burnt out. That's how we feel overwhelmed. That's how we get frustrated and stressed out because we're always going.
Yeah. So ladies and gents too, because it happens to men as well. Let us look at our urgent versus important. I think that's a major takeaway, if anything, from today's show, Kathy. Thank you. That important versus urgent. Set the timelines. Write them down. You know, as Catherine said, I'm still toying with this journaling thing. I start hot and heavy, and then next thing you know, I don't even look upon a journal. But it's something that's important to write your things down. Use it as a guide. Use it as a checklist, and you'll soon realize, as Catherine says, there's stuff that's just nice to have, just nice to know that it's that you put it on paper. All right, how can we effectively communicate with each other?
So, a lot of times we project how we think the person is going to respond already, and it prohibits us from being honest. Yeah. And I think the best form of communication is honesty. So I remember...
That's a gem, guys.
Yeah. I remember when I was... My first corporate job here in Jamaica, my boss used to say to me that every time I write an email, I have to send it to him first because I lack tact. I would just communicate and say what I want to say without thinking about how the person is going to receive it. And then having led a team after that, I became a lot more conscious of that, the need to do that. And I would say it's the same thing. When you're communicating with people, think about how you want them to receive it. Yeah. And try to structure the message in a way that they will get it the way you want to. You know, we, again, our Insta world, we text and we type things, and text messages are always misconstrued.
Yeah, because the tone is deaf.
And the person receives the tone how they want to receive it, not necessarily how you intended it.
Exactly.
So going back to the important and the urgent, how important is this conversation, and how do I really want the person to receive it, and what's the best way to communicate it? Is the best way to communicate having a phone conversation? Is it an in-person conversation? An in-person in our new digital age could be a FaceTime or a Skype or a Zoom. Or some people express themselves better in writing. I write letters still.
Oh God, I can't tell when last I write a letter.
I write letters still because that's how I express myself. Sometimes it's not to give the person, but it's to process how I want to have that conversation.
No, but I love that. Yeah. Oh, I love that. All right, another major gems within there. All right, so you talk about something that used to do. I know in high school, I remember picking up my rotary phone and dialing my friend to talk. In today's world, I'm guilty of it, I'd prefer to WhatsApp you.
Yeah. We don't have phone conversations anymore.
I don't even text because I can't see when you read the
read
text, okay? I prefer to WhatsApp you and see that the tick's gone and the ticks are blue.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how much times, especially as a leader of persons, I've sent a text and the person took it in the wrong way. Or vice versa.
Yep.
Something as simple as picking up the phone can solve so much. so much issues, and because then the person gets in their head, or you get in your head, and you now start breaking them. Why the hell? When really, in fact, the tone is just wrong in the text.
Correct.
So guys, let's pick up the phone. I think that we need to be communicating obviously we're in a world now where face-to-face is not as ideal anymore, but picking up the phone and hearing a person's voice. I even also love the idea of writing a letter. Writing a letter. And you know what? As we talk about writing a letter, I don't think that my 10-year-old knows what it even is to write a letter.
When we used to have pen pals.
No,
physical snail mail.
No, now we're WhatsApping, we're DMing,
not even emails.
We're not even email. Excuse me.
Yep.
No. Cause I want instant gratification. If I email, I have to wait for you to come back to me. No, I'm going to WhatsApp you. All right. Another thing we have to be doing: be conscious about, be intentional about, guys. Communicate when we're communicating with one another. It is probably best or better. As Kathy said, I love that your boss wanted to pre-read or proofread because you were lacking tact. Excuse me, sir. She's full of tact, all right? Catherine, how do you nurture your faith?
Well, it's the first thing I do in the morning, right? For me, if I don't center myself and spend time with God, my whole day is thrown off. Important for me too is to surround myself with people that hold me accountable.
Very important.
I have an unusual relationship with my pastor according to most of my friends, but it's because I crave that accountability. I listen to worship music when I drive because I have road rage. I have bad road rage. I'm very aware of it.
Be the wheel, Lord.
And so I have found that when I listen to praise and worship in the car, it centers me and it brings me back to a place of act right. I did a fast the other day with my church, with Go For God, for a week.
How'd that go for you?
So it was a lot.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It's yes, it can be a lot. But I do find that fasting for me gives me clarity.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, it gives me...
It's a different kind of clarity.
Yeah.
Because you're focused now on the things, again, that are important. You focused on what's the reason for this fast? What am I trying to get out of it? And more than that, it's an emptying to be refilled.
It's an emptying to be refilled. That's a whole mind shift right there.
Yeah.
It's an emptying to be refilled. All right. So fasting, just really quickly, guys. I did not do Go For God's fast the other day. However, I did do a fast, and look here now in December. No, there's no thing as a fasting. Right. But I did do a fast where you finish eating by a certain time, and then the next day you'd break your fast at a certain time. And I can't tell you how just empowering it was, the clarity that you got, the focus. Even though, there were times where I was a little shaky. Yeah. I ain't gonna lie, I was shaky. Yes. However, that emptying to refill, yes, Catherine, yes. Let's get to fasting.
And it's a focus, right? Because you're fasting for a reason.
Yes.
And so you're now focused and zoned in on that reason, and nothing else matters because it's not important at the time.
Yeah.
So you really do zone in on what matters. So that's it for me, praying and staying connected to Him, giving Him my first fruits first thing in the morning. Staying connected to people that help to hold me accountable and to nurture me. Yeah. And I'm a worshiper, so praise and worship definitely helps to keep me centered and to get me in that space of. You're here.
Same. I'm a big praise and worship person. I love to hear it. It is, I believe that's how He speaks to me, is through praise and worship. That's where I get the, all right, my girl, this is what you need to be doing when a certain song is on and a certain feeling that kind of washes over me. What aspirations are you pursuing personally and professionally?
Ooh, this is a hard one because I should have the clarity, right? So I will tell you the truth. What I am pursuing is not, I haven't fully accepted where God wants me. But I'm trying to be obedient.
You haven't fully accepted. So that means you have an idea.
Oh yeah, and I'm clear. I'm definitely clear.
So why the hesitation?
Because it's not a place that I'm comfortable.
But that's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. But I'm doing it, right?
Okay.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
Because I know what it is to live outside of obedience.
Okay.
That's a whole
that's a whole other conversation.
So I am trying to embrace just executing the things I know he wants me to, which are releasing my book. Yeah, and I guess, for your show, I smiled this morning when you were talking to me about the pillars because it's focused on self-love.
Yes.
It's called I Love Me More. And it really is my journey to finding myself through seeing myself through his eyes. We make a lot of poor choices, and in one of your episodes you were talking about the poor decisions that you made that ended up because of a relationship, and it was a very similar journey for me, that I completely lost sight of myself and who I was and whose I was and who he created me to be. And so just the journey to getting back to that place, to build out some of my courses that I know I've been sitting on for quite some time. And to really focus on developing Emerge into the platform that is a lot more structured.
Let's talk about Emerge, because you started Emerge
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and it was something that was in person. Right? And then COVID hit. You had to pivot. But talk to us about Emerge and where it is, and the reasoning even. I thought we spoke about off camera what it was, the reasoning, which I think is brilliant, behind it.
So a couple of years ago, Jamaica had entered this space of motivational speaking. A lot of us would hear Tony Robbins and Les Campbell and all these people, but we didn't really have that in Jamaica. And so there was a lot of motivational conferences and events and all kind of stuff popping up. And they were great. They made it feel good. But after being to a couple of them and speaking at a couple of them, it was like, does this actually help people? It makes us feel good. And there's a place for that, absolutely. But what happens when you leave? What are the actionable next steps that I can take to accomplish the things that I just listened to this person accomplish? And so I literally called Naomi Garrick one day and I said to her, I'm so over this. I'm just being transparent. People need to be able to figure out next steps. How do we facilitate that? And she said to me, I was just talking to Rochelle about that. And so I conferenced Rochelle and I said, we're coming to your house. This was a Friday. We went to Rochelle the Monday. And we said, the three of us had such a pull on our hearts to help people to figure out those next steps, that it was a no-brainer for us. And so Ready to Emerge was birthed on that day in December. The first event was in March. Rochelle got, she had a speaking engagement at the end of January, and she announced on stage that we were having Emerge in March. There was no venue, there was no plan, there was
she was
nothing.
Speaking into existence.
But it happened, through the grace of God. I mean, I will never forget the first conference. The night before, we were crying and laughing, packing swag bags and setting up venue. And the morning of the event, we were like, there's nobody coming here today. Not one single soul is coming here today.
That was fair. That was talking?
Absolutely. Like, what were you doing?
Right.
When I say we ball, So Rochelle's mother prays for us before every single event. She lives in New York.
No, bless her.
But we call her, and we can't have a workshop or a conference without Marcy praying for us.
Yes.
And we were just so overwhelmed by the people and people showing up, and people spent the entire day with us.
Wow.
But it was all God. I mean,
absolutely.
From the setup to the pull down, the people that attended, the tickets that were sold, the speakers that agreed to come, The
alignment was there.
Everything fell into place without. And I will say, honestly, with little to no effort, it's like God just had everything aligned.
About that, let's talk about appointed time, okay?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you talk about appointed time. We had a great 2019. And then 2020 happened. We had the first conference in January. And by March, the place shut down. So you have a whole plan for the year.
Yeah.
And COVID happened and you're like, okay, what now? You have obligations to sponsors. You have all of these things that you need to consider. And I was saying this here off air, all of us were going through a transition at that point. Rochelle had just left corporate. I had just left corporate. Like, who does that? Who leaves their good guaranteed paycheck at the beginning of a pandemic?
Someone chasing their purpose.
Thank you, Sin. And so we went through 4 months of lockdown in Jamaica, and I live by myself. So that was a real awakening for me. And I'm used to being busy.
Yes, that word busy,
Right? And so now I have to be still by myself for 4 months. I started counseling because I was going crazy.
Mentally, I mean, a lot of people. Not you.
And so we regrouped, and I said, okay, guys, what now? What do we do now? So at the beginning of the year, our conference, the theme was journey mapping. And so what it was is that we look at the journey of our life and all the elements of our life. So from our health, our spiritual wellness, our mental wellness, our career goals, our family goals, all of the different aspects of our lives that we want to focus on. And we do a map of where we are, where we're coming from, where we are now, and where we're going.
I love that. Journey mapping, you call it.
Journey mapping. And so, and it's a detailed area of each of our lives. We have a workbook that we created that goes along with it. That
where can our viewers get that?
ReadyToEmergeNow.com, or ReadyToEmerge.com. And so from it, we now had to become virtual like everybody else. No, I can tell you, between the three of us, we're okay, but technology is not where we live. Right? And so we decided that we wanted to do something that was going to help our emergers through the process just as much as we needed it. And so we decided on detour essentials. So we had our journey map, our road, but there's detours that come up in life all the time. And how we deal with those detours impact the direction that we're moving in. You know, that's the difference between taking 5 minutes to reach back to the main road or taking 20 years, you know?
Right.
And so we created Detour Essentials Live, which is every single Wednesday. It's on YouTube at Ready to Emerge. We are in season 5 currently, and it started out as ways to help people through COVID. So our very first show was a psychologist that helped us to manage anxiety, that helped us to become better communicators, and different aspects of how do we now function in this space. And it has evolved. It has definitely evolved because we're over COVID now. We don't even want to talk about COVID anymore. We don't even want to speak it. And so 5 seasons later, we've been able to talk to so many different people about their success and how they manage to achieve the things that they have. We've talked about, I was telling you, we did a dating series last season, which was quite exciting. Because, you know, especially in Jamaica, is dating even really a thing? You know, the way we talk about...
Is it?
Well, and so that's the thing, you know, the way that men and women view it also is extremely different. And so it was a 3-part series, you know, one with the women, one with the men, and one with a love coach. And so we're evolving and we're emerging ourselves. Season 6 starts in January, which we're in right now. But so we'll see. We are going back to live.
Which is great.
Yes, we are excited about going back to live because we love people. We love to connect with people, and virtual is great. So we're going to be doing both because we now have an audience. And one good thing about COVID is that because we've been online, we're able to bring everybody in. You know, people used to keep saying to us, when are you coming to the US? When are you going to the other islands?
That the space allows you to be borderless. Correct. So, you know, so COVID has been a blessing and a curse in many ways. As you talk about Emerge, you've left your corporate job some years ago, and it would even sound like some of your partners at Emerge left their corporate job chasing their purpose, right? That means that there's something more that you wanted out of life. Definitely. For me, it is very important that I'm leaving a positive impact on people. What impact is it that Catherine wants to leave on the world?
Ooh, that's a big question. You couldn't prepare me? Yeah, I mean, no little nudge. Honestly, I want people to know who they are and to know that they were created for a reason.
Yes.
And to know that God loves them more than anything, and that He spent the time to create each of us individually for a unique purpose. And to just help them to walk in that purpose. You know, if I can inspire people to just own who they are, own who's there and to live out that life, that's it. I'm grateful. And it could be one person. Maybe I'm here to impact one.
Yeah.
You know, but I definitely think just leaving empty.
Leaving empty, leaving it all here. Because we are going to do with it over there. So.
Exactly.
And we're even over there, so it was heaven. We're all going there. But, well, we hope. But yeah, leaving empty, having given of yourself, right? Not giving yourself away, no, but having given of yourself. Very, very, very important. You never need no nudge. You're good. Kathleen, where can our viewers and our followers find you?
Oh, Lord. Well, my website is kathygoodall.com, so that's easy. And Instagram, Kathy. Everything is Kathy Goodall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kathy Goodall. Thank you so much, Kathy, for bringing your light to the world. It's needed. And I think that you haven't really, you did kind of give us some insight to what God has called you for, but especially I am looking forward to all that he has planned for you in 2022. I'm looking out for that book. I'll be at the book signing. I want a personal autograph, okay? So we are introducing a very new segment. It's called our Purpose Soars Point of View, or hashtag PPV. What that means is that every conversation that we have here on Chasing Purpose moving forward, you are going to be a part of. So tonight's point of view is this.
Appointed time means to me the moment I know I walked into my winning season, my blessing season, the harvest is coming. I feel that. That's what the appointed time means to me.
So when you speak about appointed time, it for me is making reference to a God-ordained time. For example, as human beings, we always make, decisions and choices based on what we want to happen right now. And we never truly understand that all these things will happen in its appointed time. But oftentimes it never goes exactly at the time that you want it to go. Sometimes we want to be in the now, but we don't realize that the now is preparing us for later. And like they always say, later is always greater, because that is your appointed time. The time when it was always meant to happen, and the time that God has ordained over your life.
For the vision is yet for the appointed time. It hastens toward the goal, and it will not fail. Though it tarries, wait for it, for it will certainly come. It will not delay. Trust God's timing. In his time, not our own, will he make our vision extremely clear. Wishing you all love, light, and purpose. Good night.
Yay.